Hangouts is live now on air. Let me make sure I have chat pulled up. Hey there, everybody. This is Dreamcast Episode 4, the podcast that just seems to get the coolest guests that are way cooler than me. And today I actually have somebody I am a huge fan of, which is the one, the only Austin John Plays. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, man. Seriously.
Hey, what's going on?
So I wanted to have you on for a bit now, and really this topic lines up. I just want to spend like the entire hour talking about Pokemon in general, because you know way more than I do, and I really love your approach. I mean, when you make videos on it, it's just so in-depth. And there's just absolutely tons of Pokemon news to go over. So how are you? How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. My fiance is out of town for a work training thing, so we're getting pretty crazy over here. Lots of late nights of playing Minecraft and Dr. Mario World.
Isn't it funny that like that's really the way it is? When my fiance goes somewhere, I'm like, you know what I'm going to do tonight? Play World of Warcraft till 2 a.m.
Yeah, and like a lot of people are like, oh, aren't you afraid like he's gonna like do some shady stuff? And she's like, no, he's home playing Minecraft.
Yep. Yeah, if I had a party, it would be people coming over to play Mario Kart. I mean, it's like, how crazy can you get?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dig into it. The big thing the reason I wanted to have you on is there seems to be lots of pokey drama, which to me from the outside is a little bit crazy, because just as a layman, I think Pokemon Sword and Shield look awesome. I think Pokemon Sword and Shield, they're Nintendo Switch Pokemon. I mean, it's not Breath of the Wild level graphics, but I think it looks good. What's going on? Why are people complaining about like the visuals and stuff?
Give me just 1 second. I'm putting on my community page that we're live right now.
Okay, cool. Let me look at chat. My roommate, Aimed Crit, that I lived with a bunch of years, I moved out of his house recently, but he's saying that he loves your Breath of the Wild videos. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
Here. What's up, fellas? Can't max to see. Hey, thank you, everybody who's in chat. Let's see here. Sword and Shield looks good, but the models are the same from X and Y. Stuff looks awesome. I'll be getting it. Yeah, I think a lot of people are... I think that Nintendo seems to be still thinking of Nintendo as Pokemon as a handheld, even though it's going to be on a console. I think they're still thinking about it as a handheld game.
Well, the first thing, if we're talking about the visuals first, there's been some reports going around because, as we know, Pokemon doesn't make the game. Game Freak does. And Game Freak, they have a lot of other projects going on right now. Some of them much smaller. One of them is arguably a little bit larger. It's a game in development called Town. You may have remembered this.
Yeah.
I think that was E3 2018, and we just haven't heard about it since. They are still working on that, and that looks like a huge game, like a Xenoblade Chronicles size of a game. Like, there is so much content packed into that. And then granted, we are seeing development footage because for the Pokemon community, people want to see what they're working on. Like when it comes to a lot of other Nintendo games, you wouldn't criticize the visuals beforehand because you're just excited to see what they're going to be putting out. But when it comes to Pokemon, they're looking at it and they're like, oh, well, this sucks. This could be better. And I remember there was an image of Link from Majora's Mask on the N64 put next to a tree in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and it didn't look out of place.
That's funny. Well, speaking of the Zelda comparison, I saw a lot of people actually showing that the development footage we had of Breath of the Wild, the early trailers of Breath of the Wild, if you compare them to the final game, are very different. Like the resolutions are crazy, like improved by the time it released. I feel like people are judging this really, really harshly. Maybe it's because my theory as a layman is that people have been fantasizing about a console-focused mainline Pokemon for their entire lives. And now it's here, and they expected it to just be like Nurse Joy like kisses your forehead and says you're the best Pokemon trainer ever. And that's just not happening.
I mean, I've even seen it compared to like Pokemon Stadium visuals.
Yeah.
Are you drinking balls?
Hell yeah, man. I don't know. I love this shit.
I like the root beer one.
Yeah, yeah. Geek beer, I think they called it originally. I don't know what they call it now.
Yeah. And what was it? So a lot of people are talking about how Junichi Masuda went on record 83 said that because of the reason that they're taking a lot of Pokemon out of the game is because they're focusing on a lot of other things, higher resolution models and better overall quality graphics. And when you compare that to something like Pokemon Stadium, where each individual of the 151 Pokemon in there, all of their limbs, their skeletons are modeled to specific moves. And now
Mhm.
we get a clip of Yamper doing tail whip, and it just goes like
Mhm.
this, as opposed to Flareon in Pokemon Stadium, who its tail is actually moving and its butt and its torso and everything, and it looks like it's
A giant flaming Pokemon, yeah.
yeah.
So, do you think that this should look better? Like, what's your personal opinion? And I do want to go on to National Dex here in a second, but I want to finish talking visuals. Do you think it should look better? As a layman, I think it looks great. I don't understand the complaints at all. But you have literally thousands more hours in Pokemon than I do. Are you satisfied, or do you think there should be more?
I know that whenever Pokemon does a jump to a new console, there's play it very safe.
Mhm.
And when Pokemon does a jump to a new generation, they play it very safe. And when Pokemon does a jump to a new region, they play it very safe. We're just getting all three of those at once.
Oh
And
yeah.
then also it's a brand new platform. No longer is it a handheld, now it's a home console. So in some aspect they're playing it even more safe in my eyes, because what we're seeing now in Sword and Shield is the groundwork of what we're going to be having for the second part of 8th gen, possibly
Mhm.
Diamond and Pearl remakes.
Hell yeah.
Also, uh what's going to be after this. If you look back to the visuals of, well, pretty much any generation. Let's go back to XY. X and Y was the first time that the game used isometric 3D and polygons. They went from 2D sprites to polygons in an actual environment. And the
Mhm.
game, when you compare it now, looks so rudimentary. And then they took that and they improved upon it for Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, which was also 3D models. And then they basically took that and improved upon that for Sun and Moon, which looked much better.
Crazy. Yeah,
And
crazy.
then,
And had new environments and did all sorts of new evolutions. So yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, of it almost feels like they have their own three form evolutions even in the games.
yeah, and then the B team improved upon Sun and Moon for Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Not a lot was done there. I'm not even gonna act like it was nicer. It was just pretty much the same thing. Um, and this team that's working on Sword and Shield are the people who did um, X and Y, and then they did Sun and Moon. So now they had 2.5 years so far to work on Sword and Shield. And I'm happy with the way that it looks. I know that it's going to be cleaned up a little bit more because every Nintendo published game has the Nintendo shine to it.
Mhm.
And even if it is a little bit more basic, I'm okay with that, because we're comparing the open areas of Pokemon Sword and Shield to the open areas of Breath of the Wild.
Mhm.
But there's so much more going on. I think it would be more healthy for people to compare Sword and Shield to Final Fantasy X.
All right, you're totally now you're grabbing my attention very much. So do you mean like
Yeah.
how Final Fantasy X was interesting in a lot of ways, but it was sort of a corridor. You don't realize it at the time, but you're definitely walking down a set path.
Yep.
Not everybody had the best animations. A lot of vendors still looked like PS1 characters. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But and then also the entire combat system was changed in 10.
Yeah.
And bringing that set the groundwork for everything going forward. 10.2, unfortunately, 13.2, 13.3, and 15. And it kind of set the idea of what they would be branching off of. They just planted the seed with 10 because it was such a big jump from what 9 was.
Mhm.
I feel
So,
like we're currently at that jump in the Pokemon life.
so are you thinking? Because from a lot of the stuff, I've only watched the trailers a couple times. You're definitely the expert. You've seen them a lot more. You've done great analysis videos on them.
I've watched this trailer like 20 times.
Yeah. So, do you think that the Pokemon series is aiming to go more multiplayer? Because the whole idea of like the open world zones being able to like have people meet up and meet the giant Pokemon and stuff. Do you think that Pokemon is sort of recentering itself to be more co-op as an idea, and that's possibly why the visuals look so different as well, as they're literally revamping everything again?
Are we talking about how MMORPGs aren't that visually stunning, but they're a lot of fun?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I love Final Fantasy 14 a lot. I've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft lately, but they're not crazy. Like they're definitely not like the most jaw dropping games because it's a whole interactive world.
Um, well, Pokemon from the very beginning, in its origin and its birth, was all about having someone else to play with, to
Hmm.
battle, to trade with, etc. That's the reason they've released two versions. While the idea of two versions is becoming more and more obsolete, it's now just kind of the Pokemon thing to do, in
Hmm.
my opinion. But what we see now with the max raid battles, it's really nice that, and we still don't know how exactly it's going to be implemented. Either it's going to be something that now this is just complete speculation. I'm throwing that out there. This
All
is
right,
not confirmed. No one's
speculation
talking about
hats.
this. Yeah. Um, we don't know if this is going to be everyone on your friends list is just going to appear in everyone's game and
Hmm.
we're all just kind of centered in the same environment in the wild areas as opposed to the towns you're offline and not communicating with them, or we don't know if like on Xbox you're going to be setting up a room and
Hmm.
you and those three additional friends you can explore that same one wild area or transfer to a different wild area and go through the battles like that, or if it's proximity based on you getting closer to the max raid battles. And when you approach the max raid battles, it looks for anyone on your friends list or just online at all
Hmm.
and says, okay, well, these people are getting close to this max raid battle. We'll link them up.
Did you play any Sea of Thieves?
I played a lot of Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, so I
I,
think
I
that
had
the
about 80 hours of doing the same three missions.
yeah, I feel like the way it did online grouping was genius. Of like it always had you accidentally stumble into other players. It sort of like corralled you into certain zones. You could just choose if you wanted to start your own ship or just be thrown onto somebody else's ship. Um, my hope is that Pokemon does this in their own flavoring, of course. But I like the idea of when I turn on my Pokemon game or I start dropping into my save file, I'm just able to straight up choose, all right, do I want to start in a particular open world area with players roaming around? Do I want to have just friends allowed on my ship? Or do I just want to go around solo? That's what my hope is that way it's full enough.
I think how Sea of Thieves implemented multiplayer was fantastic, including the concept of being able to lock someone in the brig if everyone
Yep.
votes that they don't like them.
Yep.
As awesome as that is, it's built, it's a rare game and it's built on the Xbox ideas.
Yeah.
If we think about the Nintendo ideas, even if they do decide to implement that exact thing, I don't feel like you would have choices. They would just
Oh yeah.
decide based on something what is going to happen because these games are rated E for everyone or E10 plus. This is just
That's a great mock-up.
it's
Yeah.
anti. So whatever. Yeah, I like to have visuals with me for Sword and Shield and things like that. So um you're going to be playing in the same open world as 10-year-olds. That doesn't happen in Diablo.
Mhm.
And while this is a very family friendly game, this is much more aimed at a younger audience and adults like me than any MMORPG, Final
Mhm.
Fantasy 14, etc. So everything I feel like is going to be handled very simply. And because of that, people who are mentally more advanced adults, some adults, um, we're going to want and to crave that additional option and choice, but it may not be presented to us.
So I don't know, that worries me a little bit. But I guess on the topic of simplifying things, we got to talk about the National Dex.
Mhm.
From the outside, not I have beaten. I believe I've beaten almost every generation of Pokemon. I did not play Black and White, and I didn't play Black and White 2.
I also did not play Black, White, Black 2, White 2, and I'm now finally playing through Platinum.
Yeah, dude, I love Platinum. Actually, I played Platinum before Diamond and Pearl because for some reason everybody at the time was saying it was the hard mode Pokemon, and man, Platinum
It's definitely harder.
dude,
Like
it kicked my butt, man.
I'm going even like the second gym, I was like, I'm
Mhm.
not used to this. I'm used to being able to just blow through a game, no problem. I don't even need to try, but like I'm getting bodied by the second gym, and I'm like, okay, I guess it's time to go grind.
Yep,
I
yep.
haven't done that in Pokemon in a long time.
And that's what I liked about it. I seriously was blown away by Platinum. So I guess when I hear them say we're reducing the total number of Pokemon, that sounds shocking, but I guess it makes sense. What are your thoughts on it though?
My thoughts are people shouldn't care. They should not care. It does not affect the gameplay whatsoever. Just to be clear, when every single Pokemon generation comes out from, I don't want to quote myself indirectly because Pokemon fans will hate me for it. Uh, X and Y. X and Y was the first generation that implemented the Pokemon Bank. And the Pokemon Bank is the way, and Poke Transporter. And the Pokemon Bank is the way that you could transfer your Pokemon from older games into every generation, sixth and going forward. So X and Y, Oris, Sun and Moon, awesome. And every time that they update Pokemon Bank, it's usually February of the following year from the Pokemon launch, which means that there's anywhere from 2 to 4 months that people are going to be able to play and experience the new region with only the Pokemon in the game before you can bring your Pokemon from previous generations. When we're looking at Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, Sun and Moon had 300 Pokemon available in game, excluding the QR code scans. And Awesome had 400, excluding the QR code scans, which QR code scans are like the most convoluted way that you can possibly encounter
Right.
Pokemon from older generations and stuff like that. And when it comes down to that, the core experience of playing the game through isn't going to be any different because you still play through the game, you still get all 8 badges, and you still become the champion, and you still do all the post game stuff with the regional Pokedex.
Mhm. So
And
I want to pause you right there. So a bunch of people in chat are actually kind of yelling, and I want to read some of these comments because I feel like a lot of people
well,
are.
hang on. There's a
Okay, okay,
second half to this.
okay.
After Pokemon Bank updates in Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, XY, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, that is when you can bring your Pokemon from older games. Now, older Pokemon could mean the Pokemon that you are available in the game. So, say for example, if you want to bring in your old Charizard
Yeah.
from first generation into Sun and Moon, you could totally do that. You've already experienced the game for 3-4 months. You've already played through the entire game. So, yeah, you can bring your Pokemon in and do whatever you want. In my opinion, that's kind of when the Pokemon game dies and when the meta is born.
Mm.
And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about the more competitive scene of the online battling, people doing the complete your national decks, complete your living decks, and all of the more hardcore Pokemon ideas, as opposed to the much more casual audience, which kind of just plays that launch until they're
Yeah.
done playing the game.
People like me, definitely. So
And
a
that's
lot of I was sort of read. So thank you, Taylor, for the $1 donation. A lot of people though seem concerned just about the idea of Pokemon that they've had for years and years and years ceasing to exist. Have they confirmed you? I had not heard what you were saying about the Pokemon Bank. So they say that later on these Pokemon will be added, or what's that?
Junichi Masuda said in his follow-up interview 3 weeks after E3 that he does not, this is the third time he's saying it, he does
Mhm.
not plan on a patch or anything else for Sword and Shield to bring those Pokemon in.
Mhm.
Also, we don't know how many Pokemon are included. It could be 700 of 1,000.
Right.
And 7 out of 10 Pokemon isn't bad. It could be 800 out of 1,000, and that isn't bad. It could be as little as 400 or 500. At that point, then it's half. And yes, I could understand people being upset. We don't even know how many Pokemon are in the game. And going back to what he said that in future games, you may be able to bring those Pokemon over, which makes sense because if you're going to be taking all 500 of these Pokemon as they exist currently, and then for the second half of Generation 8, you can implement the other remaining Pokemon. Now, there are some Pokemon that are not worth the time in their eyes at all. A great example of this is a Pokemon called Unknown. You know who Unknown is?
Yeah, yeah, and all the different variations. There's 26 variations or whatever,
I
right?
think there's either 26, 27, or 28. I think there's also a question mark and exclamation point in addition to the US alphabet.
Yeah,
That means that for this one Pokemon with one move, they need to make 28 different models with 2 different color palettes, one for the shiny as well.
yeah.
And they need to implement all of how it's going to be put into the game. That's not worth their time.
Well, so what I feel like a lot of people don't understand is one second. So El Comanche, thank you for the $2. Huge fan. El Comanche said, as always, keep up the great work. I think what a lot of people don't understand is it's not just taking the fully completed awesome Pokemon and putting in a new game. They have to program every move. Every move has to be redone. So Fire Blast, Tackle, Tail Whip, like everything has to be pretty much from scratch reworked when they bring it over to the Switch. So I understand the scaling down. I am a little bit nervous though that it's going to be something like 300. I'm afraid, like, just since we don't have more information, I am a little bit nervous that they cut out like everything, but like if they cut out like 70% of the past and just give us like their own hand selected few of the good ones, that would be a little bit worrying to me.
I really don't see them doing that. I mean, I went through numbers and I think there's currently 100 or 140 Pokemon that we've seen in trailers and are 100% confirmed for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And by 100% confirmed, I mean we have seen them in gameplay and trailers and stuff like that.
Which, by the way, is a pretty solid number already.
Yeah, that's excluding the new Pokemon. So available Galarian Pokemon. If we take this,
See, while you read that, I want to read somebody just put a good comment here in chat. Said maybe Game Freak is planning on finding ways to revolutionize Pokemon in the future. Imagine if we want to see Pokemon follow us or realistic reactions to each Pokemon and feel empathy with each of the Pokemon. Yeah, and that's the thing is they're definitely trying.
we're never gonna get Pokemon emotions.
Well, bro, I'm just waiting for that Pokemon Snap to, or what is it? Hey, you Pikachu 2.
There's a really good reason that we're not getting Pokemon emotions because we're actually making them fight each other.
That's true. Yeah. There was the old viral Flash animation back in the day of like what it's like inside a Pokeball, and it's like the Pokemon just basically thrown out, fights for it, beats itself unconscious, and is put back into Pokeball and just thrown out again. It's like, please let me die.
According to the compilation on Cerebi, there are currently 191 Pokemon, new and old, confirmed for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still like how many months out? I used my speculation and what I call Pokemon sense, which is using common sense, but then modifying it for what Pokemon would do. And I came up with 240 Pokemon. So the amount confirmed so far is pretty close to what I've come up with. And there's not a lot overlapping. I'd say like half of the list is overlapping. A great example of this is like, okay, we have Eevee and if we have Eevee, then we can assume that we're also going to get the Firestone, Thunderstone, Waterstone for the first 3 evolutions, Day-Night cycle, which is confirmed for Umbreon, Espeon. We're also going to get Leafeon, Glaceon, so there's a Moss Rock and there's an Icy area. And we're also going to have Sylveon, so there's the Friendship mechanic, and then Pokemon, or Affection mechanic.
Mm.
And then the Pokemon based off of those evolutions, so on and so forth, because they wouldn't implement an entire mechanic for, that 6 Pokemon need to evolve and then only include one of them. That's just more
Yeah,
work for them.
I see what you're saying. Of like you do the math and then you make the logical leaps. I don't know. All of this sounds good. I'm excited for it. I guess still, I wanted to see more of it. I'm definitely going to be buying it. But
hang on. I'm going to cut you off. Some people have said the animations are the same. Okay, even if the animations are completely identical, it may run on our brand new engine and they have to do it all from scratch. Like if you draw a drawing, great, except I need you to draw it on this piece of paper. You still need to draw the drawing. It's still double the amount of work. Yes, you take out the guessing of what it's going to look like and speculation in the development process, but you still need to do double the amount of work. And 4 animations, that takes a while.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of the things that I've heard people say nobody understands how hard porting is. Of like just taking something from one hand and putting it in the other hand is still a tremendous amount of programming and reworking. So it's not like they just went select all animations, copy, paste. It's like that doesn't really work like that.
Yeah. It's called recompiling. Yeah, but if it's completely different and on a completely different engine, it doesn't work. Like you can't take a Windows Media file from your compact Passario in 2001 at 240p and make it look like a 1080p video. It doesn't work like that. You have to draw it from scratch.
So what it seems like a lot of people in chat are just generally pretty concerned about the game. Is there anything about the game that you're nervous about? Is there anything in the trailer so far that you've seen and you're just like, why the heck are they doing that?
Honestly, I haven't had any of that.
Yeah. What is the thing? Gigamaxing, Dynamaxing, what is it called? The giant
So
thing?
both of those things. There's Dynamaxing, which is the new gimmick for this generation, which makes Pokemon turn into much larger versions of themselves, and they use more powerful moves, and they have boosted HP for 3 turns.
So raid bosses.
Was that?
Basically raid bosses, which is what I like about it.
Right. However, so the max raid battles is different from Dynamaxing. Yes, they are Dynamax Pokemon, except they're extremely more powerful. When you Dynamax your Pokemon, its HP is slightly higher and its attack is slightly higher. And then there's Gigamaxing or Gigantamaxing. I've heard it been called both. And when you do that, only for a select individual Pokemon of a Pokemon species, that Pokemon can change its form. So similar to Mega Evolution, except not all Charizards can Mega Evolve, just this one specific one of this one specific instance. I don't remember. I think I remember reading somewhere that only Pokemon from max raid battles can Gigamax. I remember seeing that somewhere. I don't remember confirming that though.
Yeah, I'm excited about the idea of it, but I feel like it is going to be a weird gimmick. I think it's going to take me a while to get used to the idea of like just gigantic ass Pikachus and stuff. I'm curious to see it. I think it's one of those things that'll be really fun to do. It'll be weird to watch, but very fun to do, is actually getting to fight them.
Can you talk about removing Megas and Z moves just to combine them? French Black Kid says, which is pretty much the topic that we're on right now. One of my favorite Pokemon in the world is Charizard. I have my Charmander with my Charizard hoodie right there.
That's so cute. I haven't seen that.
I have a giant picture of Gyarados over there. I have my Charizard portrait over there.
Yeah, and your Pokemon Red face in front in the background. I love that, dude. That complete in box Pokemon Red is gorgeous.
It's a repo. I'm sorry.
That's right. If it looks real, it's real to me.
And while yes, it's kind of me saying, hey, my favorite 2 Pokemon are already confirmed for the game, so I'm marked safe on Facebook. However, crap, where was I going with this? Oh, Mega Evolutions. Yes, I love Mega Charizard. It's absolutely awesome. It's a really dope mechanic that they introduced in X and Y, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and then it also came in Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, but it was post game. And there may be a lore reason that I started diving into a little bit, a theory on why Mega Evolutions are in those games and not in these games, which has to do with the war 3,000 years ago, AZ's war. It may have been against the Galarian region and Kanto, where they had the Mega Evolutions there, and Red and Blue went to the battle tree in Sun and Moon, because that's where you see Red and Blue, and that's where Mega Evolutions are, or all the Mega Stones. So maybe in Sword and Shield they didn't have the technology or the research to do the Mega Stones, because Mega Stones come from meteorites. Maybe the meteorites didn't fall in their version of Scotland, and instead they have Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing. So they may have been in that war 3,000 years ago, and one side had the Mega Evolutions, one side had Dynamaxing.
I like the idea that, and it, I don't know, I like more of the universe building. I think the universe building in Pokemon is really fascinating as they introduce more regions and talk about the god Pokemon and kind of expand on the legendaries. That's probably my favorite thing, despite just getting to capture stuff and level up. I like the idea of like the fact that they just keep stacking on layers and layers to this lasagna.
Yes.
But what I do want to do is pivot a little bit towards the the Switch Lite. I watched your video of it today. I am freaking thrilled about the Switch Lite, but I know a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are saying a Switch that doesn't connect to my TV isn't a Switch. What are some of your thoughts? Like, sum it up. Well, are you as excited as I am? Because I'm probably going to buy 2 of these things.
I'm going to buy them just as being a collector. I may skip on the gray one because it looks meh.
Yeah.
I'm probably getting the turquoise and the question mark one. I'm also talking to Colorware for a promotion that we may be promotion we may be doing in the future. So a custom colored one.
Ooh.
I'm definitely getting the Sword and Shield one.
If they make you a custom purple one, tell them to talk to me. I will pay good money for a custom purple one, man.
I'm also excited to see about custom shells coming out.
Yeah, right. Since clearly it seems like people may have had mock-ups, because a lot of those like leaked listings were pretty close. So I think that people probably had schematics and are already working on skins.
Not skins, shells.
Oh, sorry, shells. Yeah.
You've seen like the atomic purple one?
Oh, yeah. Wood was showing me. Wood has one that like changes colors with an app. Yeah,
so like the original atomic purple from the N64 days, completely transparent. You open it up and you put it all in there.
Yeah, I'm too scared to do that because I don't know anything about technology.
Oh, I broke it. I broke my right Joy-Con. I accidentally dislocated a ribbon cable in there. Now, I'm not excited for the Switch Lite.
Really? Why? Yeah, tell me your thoughts.
Like, I'm not personally excited. Like, yes, I'm going to buy them as a collector. Probably going to keep them in the box or use them in the set. I play my Switch 99.9% in dock mode. Oh. I have no reason to play my Switch Lite. I think it's fantastic what they're doing to lower the price threshold for being able to play this new generation of game, and therefore increase the install base. And when you increase the install base, pricing goes down. Now, the video that I put out about the Switch Lite, I do feel like the current Nintendo Switch will never go down in price. This will be $300, maybe $250 in a far off future. I feel like the Switch Lite is the thing that starting next year on Black Friday, you're going to see it down for $150. Or maybe even there's going to be a limited edition, only one color for $100. That's what they did with the new 2DS XL.
Yeah.
So
can I throw out a conspiracy theory? I honestly think that in the long run, I honestly think that the Switch Lite is going to outsell the launch Switch by the end of this generation. I honestly think that's because, like you said, they're going to keep trying to make it cheaper and cheaper. And honestly, I think it's going to be the kids one of choice. I think parents are going to start buying multiple Switch Lites.
That's the point.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm excited about. I love so obviously I'm obsessed with the Game Boy. Like anything Game Boy. Like I actually have every model of Game Boy. I have the Japanese exclusive Game Boy Lite.
Hang on. Time out.
Yeah, dude, grab it. But just anything Game Boy. I think. Well, okay. While he's grabbing that, I'm gonna grab. I think I have my Game Boy Advance right here. There's my Game Boy Advance.
I'm proud of this.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Hell yeah, dude.
Casey made me that because we saw something similar on Reddit. So I got 4 Game Boy Pockets and the original 4 Pokemon games from Japan with the badges, and we put it up there.
I think that green one's the rarest one, right? The green Game Boy Pocket.
I don't know. They were dirt cheap online. They were like $30.
Really? Yeah. I think I can't remember what I paid for mine. I think I found mine for super cheap because it was filled with dirt and I didn't have a battery back. I found it somewhere for like $1. And I just cleaned it up and found a battery back for $1 on eBay.
I did just pick up the micro at Too Many Games, and I love that little thing.
Yeah, I think my micro is right next to here. I have a Zelda one. Somebody made me a custom Zelda one that actually has Hyrulean text on it. Hold on, as long as we're showing off, let me see if I have it.
Really?
Yeah, right here. Yeah. So it's like super cool looking. It's got a Triforce on it and stuff. Of course, it's got like some cool flair right here. But when you turn it on, you'll notice that there's actually Hyrulean text that shows up to the bottom of the screen that says The Legend of Zelda, and it's like.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's just like a small, nice thing. I'm super into little stuff like this. I think I paid $100 for it. They also redid the battery so it had better battery life.
Damn, I need to talk to your person. Mine was 200 used.
Your micro?
It's also the Famicom micro.
Oh, yeah. So I found this, I think 5 years ago now at Retropalooza. Everything at Retropalooza is just so dirt cheap. If you've never been, the convention here in Texas, it's like across the street from my house. And every year, for whatever reason,
it's across the street from my house.
Yeah. So I've gone every year now for like the last 5 years, and it's super chill. And obviously I don't have to freaking go anywhere. So I like that. And the deals are crazy. It's like retro collectors who want people to play it. So like, if you look like you're going to play it, they'll sell it to you for a great deal. I got a mint condition Game Boy Advance for
101
$10. Yeah. So I have the original, that one. And then somebody actually made me this one out of parts recently. So I finally have a backlit one. Nice. And I don't know. I just love stuff like that. I love just everything Game Boy. So that's part of the reason I'm super hyped for the Switch Lite is it feels like this generation's Game Boy. I think a lot of kids are going to grow up with the Switch Lite, and that's so cool to me.
Going back to what you were saying is you feel as though there's going to be at the end of the generation that the Lite will outsell the Switch. In one of the first interviews that they were talking about the Nintendo Switch, they want the Switch to not be a per household system. They want it to be a per individual system.
Yeah. They said, what do they say? Multiple unit family. What do they say? Like that they want each.
They want multiple units per household.
Yeah.
And this is their first step to doing that. Also, if we look at Japan is one of the biggest consumers of handheld gaming devices.
Mm-hmm.
They're still selling the PSP over there.
The
put
Vita.
That in perspective.
I looked at the numbers. They sold like 300 Vitas this week.
Yeah. So as far as that, it's going to sell huge over there. Here in America, I feel like you're going to have it a little bit split because 200 is still pretty pricey for an individual. Like if I had a 8-year-old brother and he wanted to play Breath of the Wild, I don't know how I would feel about getting him the Switch Lite.
Ooh, that's a good point.
I feel like I would get him the regular Switch, which he then plays with a controller, and I could put a case on it. And then if he breaks the controller, well, it came with one, but then I could also buy another one for $70 or on sale for $50. As opposed to if he drops the Switch Lite and cracks the screen, that's everything gone. You can't dock it and play it in that mode or anything.
I want to read. Somebody just did a $2 super chat. Mr. Pete, 1985. Thank you, Mr. Pete. You always tune in and says, "Has either of you checked out the GBA Consolizer?" I
No idea
have.
what that is.
I talked to the people. These people, it's like these engineers made something. They talked to me, and honestly, they're about to send me one. I don't know if I'm going to be able to put it together. You basically take apart the core processor of your Game Boy Advance and put it into this shell they have,
And then
it
it's an
basically
HDMI out.
yeah, and it's basically it has a Super
And it's
Nintendo
NES
controller port.
controller input.
Yeah, and so I am super interested in. A lot of people are talking about it right now, but it seems like you have to have a good understanding of tech because you do need to assemble it yourself. There is no
Oh, yeah,
option.
you do.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
dude,
that's just basic soldering. You could do that. I
dude,
could do that, and I
yeah.
don't even like soldering.
I'm dumb. I don't know if you've ever read my comment section. I'm pretty dumb. If you do it though, I would love to watch you. If you do a video on that, they're sending out a lot of anybody
No,
who can build it.
I'll let John do it.
Right, exactly. I hope that
John lives for this.
I hope Spawnway does a video on it. Honestly, it's really interesting. It's just it's one of those things that it's so
It
niche.
replaces the screen, which is weird. So you're
Yep.
basically just using the engine and the game slots
Yep.
of the GBA.
I mean, you're cannibalizing. It's I haven't seen a lot of cannibalization mods, but that's one of them where you destroy it to make it into something new completely.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I want to. So a lot of people are telling us to dig into Pokemon some more. What do you think about the a Pokemon MMO eventually? Do you think that there's actually a good chance that after this they're still trying to establish it? Because to me, I don't think that'll ever happen. I love the
I
idea of
agree.
it.
Won't
I, I
happen.
I love the idea of it, but I mean, like you were saying earlier, it sells best to kids. Like it's dedicated to like 9 to 12-year-olds as the target demographic. And while we love it, like kids aren't playing MMOs.
No. I mean, arguably, you could think about since Fork Knife came out, which that game is designed to be aimed at a younger audience. And it's played by older people like us.
Mhm.
That same idea, like because they've had a taste of that competitive, lots of people playing together. Will they want to do that with, Pokemon? Um, I say no.
It,
Even though I just came up with that idea, no, I don't see them going that direction ever.
You did give me an idea, though. I think that if a Pokemon MMO ever exists, it's going to be interesting but ultra basic. I could actually see them doing some sort of fully online version of Pokemon Stadium at some point, where like you actually get to make a character and walk around and talk to other players, but you don't go into the world and capture stuff.
Kind of like Splatoon when you're in the lobby there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Splatoon like meets Pokemon Stadium, where people can make art and submit stuff and have like custom cool outfits with like Etika hats and stuff. But then when you go into the game itself, it's just like you straight up Pokemon battling. There won't be wandering around. There won't be capturing stuff. But even then, I would
I
actually
wouldn't call that an MMO.
I guess yeah. What would I?
That's basically Street Pass tech.
Yeah, the reason I use the word MMO is because some people have used the term MMO for stuff like Diablo, because Diablo is scale wise so big. Each lobby is tiny, but the game is so big. But yeah, I guess I would consider it sort of Diablo esque though, of like,
Well,
all right, you're battling random people.
that already exists. It's a web-based thing. I don't know if it's still live, but I was playing it.
Is it official
Which
or
what was that?
is it official or just a random thing?
No. It's custom servers. You play online, and oh look, it's still up. Yeah.
Is it the one that has like Game Boy Advance looking graphics?
Yeah, but apparently they're on Pokemon Platinum now,
Damn. Yeah, I played
and it
that.
looks upscaled.
I played that one day many years ago. I played it for a single day, and I was
Yeah,
very
same exact
interested.
thing. I played it one day many years ago.
Yeah,
And the chat is just like going nuts as far as like people buying things and selling things. And it's one of those things like if you haven't been there since the start, it's pretty intimidating.
yeah. The way I'm sure people feel, a lot of people are picking up Final Fantasy 14 right now because the new expansion is so great, and everybody's getting into this new world, and it's just like, oh, here's 7 years of content. It's like, oh, what? Where do I go? What's a starting area?
I was thinking about doing that, but I felt the same thing as well.
You should honestly. in my opinion, Final Fantasy 14 is the best MMO ever made. It is super approachable. The fan base is so friendly. There's only one faction. I think that's part of it. Like a lot of other MMOs like to have an us versus them part of the story. That's not it. Like in Final Fantasy 14, everybody's buddy buddy. So when you're in town, there's like elves talking to bunny girls with great butts. I mean, it's great.
Um, one of the reasons I don't want to get into something like that is because if I like it, I'm going to put way too much time into it and I'm
Yep.
not going to be productive and I'm not going to play the other games that
Yep.
I should be playing.
That is 100%. I've wanted to make a video about this for a while. It's one of the weirdest things about being like a YouTuber that people would never understand is when you say, I don't have time to play that game because I have to play this game for work. Like people don't understand where it's like, I have to beat things. Like if I want to pay my bills, like if I want to finish a big review, I have to play certain games. I don't get to choose what I want to play.
Yeah. It's a very weird position to be in. And I don't, I give you a lot of credit because while my channel is mainly focused on Pokemon and Zelda content with dabbles into other AAA Nintendo games,
Mhm.
I couldn't do the life of play and finish a game 40 hours within the 6 days that you have it before the general audience for you to put out a proper review instead of the people who do like a 10-hour in preview or impressions video,
Or,
which I think
or,
is
or the people who do the 3-minute reviews. That's what drives me crazy is when there's like a 25-hour game. Yeah.
IGN's reviews are horrible.
Yeah, and they'll beat like a 25-hour game, and I can tell they finished it because I'm looking at the footage. But then, like the review is 3 minutes. They don't talk about the leveling system or crafting intricacies. It's just like the combat is great. This is a game made by Square Enix, and the score pops up. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Honestly, dude, I feel like I've always loved gaming. Reviewing games has opened up a whole new part of love. Like, holy crap, being forced to play games actually makes me love them so much more because now I have to play stuff I probably wouldn't have. Like, people expect me to beat this game or that game. I probably would have skipped something like The Witcher if I wasn't forced to sit down and play that. And it's now one of my favorite games ever. Dark Souls. I actually started playing Dark Souls because I just was curious about it, and I was like, maybe I can make some Dark Souls videos. It's my favorite trilogy of all time now, pretty much, is Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. Like, those are masterpieces.
It's funny you list those two because back when my channel was like just starting out and I was at like 30K subs, I got The Witcher for PS4 and I was like, great, I'm gonna play this now. And I didn't think my YouTube channel would go anywhere, but the internet had different ideas for me. My YouTube channel took off and I didn't have time to play The Witcher. And I picked up Dark Souls for the Switch. Have never opened it. Still in the plastic.
It's a really good port, man. It's super, super solid. It plays well. You have to play with a pro controller. I feel like the Joy-Con.
I play everything with a pro controller.
Yeah, it is. You need really quick reaction time, and the Joy-Con joysticks just do not feel great for it.
It's one of those things that like you find yourself like doing those quick strifes.
Yeah, exactly. Because it just requires so much reaction time. Yeah, man, doing reviews is really, really fun. I feel like what you do, I couldn't. Like the just in-depth random topics and instructional videos. I don't think I could ever do an instructional video like where you're just like, here's how this glitch works. Here's how you can unlock. One of my favorite videos of yours was here's how you unlock every character in Super Smash Brothers Ultimate in like 12 minutes or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, I couldn't construct those. Like that requires such a level of focus and like conciseness that I can't do. So huge props, man.
The funny thing about that video is everyone who had a review copy was putting out incomplete information. And I remember looking on, it was either Polygon, GameRank, something like that, or IGN, or one of those websites, one of the big guys. And they put out a video saying, here's how you unlock everyone. And then at the very end, they said, when we try to do this on a second profile, it didn't work and we don't know why. And I'm like, then why'd you write this?
Right.
This makes no sense now. It's like, hey, listen, I did this one way, but I can't recreate it. So do this method. And I'm like, that's not a guide. That's literally the opposite of a guide. So
It was weird when I was unlocking them. So sometimes one of the weirdest parts of reviewing a game is when you're playing it, you can't ask anybody for help. If you're stuck or confused or you just don't know what you're doing, there's nobody in the world to ask. Nobody has the game. And when I was unlocking characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate before launch, I didn't know a faster way to do it than World of Light. So I played.
World of Light was the worst way to unlock them.
Yeah, but since there was nobody to ask, and I did some multiplayer with my friend.
Wait. While we're talking about pre-release, in the Lost Woods in the second area in World of Light, did you figure out how to do the riddles? How long did that take you?
Some stuff I got lucky with. Some of the spirits and stuff, so much of it was trial and error. I couldn't even tell you, man, because
the riddles in the Lost Woods area, I spent like 6 hours trying to understand it.
Yeah.
And then I just accidentally did it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is so much of that is just constant bashing your head against it. Because if it's your job, like, you have to do it. So I was unlocking all the characters in there for a long time. Because I just didn't know any other way. When I did the challenge mode and stuff, I was unlocking a little bit of them, but I was like, oh, it'll probably be faster if I just beat the story. Oh my God. Yeah. So when all those videos came out of, here's how you do it in 12 minutes, I was like, no, oh my God.
When we're off camera, let's talk about this a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah.
As far as the embargo period.
Yeah, we'll dig into that in a second. I love your background kiosk, by the way, with the switch on and stuff. That's super cool.
Oh, so there was one at Too Many Games. They wanted $250 for it. I didn't know if it worked or not, and like fell in love with it. And then like I ran around. And I was like, John, look at this. I think I'm gonna get it. I think I'm gonna Rex. Look at this. I want it. Jordan, you think I should get it? Yeah, man, that's a great price. I'm like, all right, great. I went over there with my cash, and I'm like, where'd it go?
Oh no.
Which I don't know if it worked. I don't know if they had the keys for it. I don't know if the lights worked. I don't know if the screen worked or anything. And then it just drove me nuts. It ate away at my soul. And like, I even envisioned it right there. So then I went to eBay and I bought it for $400.
Oh no.
And hang on.
He's probably going to come back with the craziest collectible imaginable. It's going to be a solid gold Nintendo Switch.
I thought about making a video with my experience, but I don't know if I ever will, so I'll just talk about it here.
Yeah.
This included... Damn headset keeps coming out. An 18.5-inch touchscreen Android.
What the heck?
Exactly. It's also the slowest computer I've ever experienced in my life, even because it's running the original firmware and the original software on there. So like it showed you 3 different roulette wheels and you got to pick which amiibo and which game. And then you clicked on it. And then it was like, you touch it, moved, touch it, moved, touch it, moved. Wow, this is unplayable. And I was like, okay. So then I looked into modding it, loading on my own Android, flashing it. None of that really worked.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, great. I'll just go out and buy a monitor and then put a monitor in there and then hook it up to a computer. Well, it turns out that no one makes 18.5-inch monitors anymore. This is a 19-inch monitor, and it's way too big to fit inside of that because... just such a pain. I broke another monitor trying to do that, and then I found an 18.5-inch VGA 768 widescreen P that I finally got to work. I hooked it up to a Mac Mini, and now it's up and running.
That's crazy. That's the thing, is people never understand, like, big collections are a constant battle. Like, obviously, I have thousands and thousands and thousands of games, but I found almost all these for like $1 or $2 each. Like a lot of this stuff, I actually keep the price tags on as a joke because it's like, no, man, I'm not going to spend.
When it comes to collecting, it's all about holding out.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is luck. Luck is such a huge part of it. Like,
and bin diving.
Almost all my Dreamcast games, I paid about $3 each for. I think I paid $20 for like 2 of them, and I own every Dreamcast game. It's like, It's just finding them. I'm still holding out. The last things I want is I need a couple more of the Dreamcast demo discs. I want to have all 16 of the American Dreamcast magazine, and I do want to find the Dreamcast
They
kiosk.
made they made 16 issues of a magazine.
Yeah, because remember it was only in production for 16 months. The American American Dreamcast. Yeah.
I'm well aware of how great it did not do.
Yeah, there's a bunch of issues in Japan. They actually kept writing them for a couple months later in Europe. So my friends over in Europe who run the Dreamcast Junkyard, they mailed me a couple of the European ones because I think there's 22 in Europe. But yeah, at least it's easy.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I actually did a little bit of research on something before our interview today. I believe that there's a company in Brazil. I don't remember the name of it, but I believe that they are contracted with Sega to issue Sega systems. And like to the point that you could buy a brand new Sega Genesis like 5 or 10 years ago.
Yes, yeah. It's because they kept selling there. Their inflation rate was screwed up for a while. So modern game consoles during the last generation, so like Xbox 360 and stuff, were like $1,000 Brazilian. Retro stuff was like $100. So everybody kept buying Genesis. So they kept making Genesis games for a long time. There are 4 exclusive, like the rarest Nintendo Wii games are in Brazil. There are 4 exclusive Brazilian games that were made in Brazil, only sold in Brazil, and only by that one company. So I think it's really weird. But yeah, same thing happened with Sega. Sega just kept selling there, so they kept printing Dreamcasts and stuff because people kept buying it.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff so much, man. That's definitely the fun part of collecting. Let's wrap this up, though. We had a nice little hour here. I like to keep my podcasts super focused and concise. Before I let you go, I do want to ask you, what have you been doing in Minecraft?
Minecraft is my relax game.
Yeah.
Whenever just there's a lot going on in my life or nothing going on in my life, I have a very, very, very private server. There's like 8 of us. And we just go in there, we just build crazy stuff. I'm really into redstone and like coming up with contraptions and how things work. Right now I'm recreating the castle from Mario Maker 2 inside of Minecraft with the new 1.14.3 iron golem farm inside of it, and it's going really well. It's kind of difficult not getting the golems to spawn outside or on the roof, but I'm currently working on that. I don't know, it's just a place that we go and just relax. Like for me, like one of the most relaxing things is just going down in the mine and strip mining and looking for diamonds. So that's one of the ways I unwind.
Yeah, that's me for MMOs. Like just being able to play a game that I can't work in is so soothing. Of like, here's a game that I can take seriously and make friends in and like be my best, but never record any of the footage, never write a script. Like people don't understand, like, oh my God, the compartmentalization is a drug. Seriously.
So in this entire conversation, we said, well, there's these games that we can't play because we have to play these games for our job.
And
but
here's these ones we waste time with.
We're going to play these games to unwind.
Yep.
Yeah, that's us.
Yep, absolutely. All right, man. Do me a favor. Tell people in the chat what your channel is in case one of them hasn't heard who you are. Everybody absolutely should subscribe to Austin John Plays. Holy shit, this man is the master. But sell yourself.
I'm a family-friendly Nintendo tuber covering AAA Nintendo titles, Pokemon, Zelda, Super Smash Brothers, Mario games, things like that. Mostly focused on Zelda and Pokemon, as well as Switch news. You can find me here at YouTube, Austin John Plays. That's what the logo looks like. It's red with the circle with my name on it. Great. Or just trust me, if you play Pokemon, if you played Breath of the Wild, you've seen one of my videos. That's what I like to say.
That's a good way of putting it. Man, thanks so much for coming on. And thanks so much, everybody in chat. Y'all asked good questions. You helped to dictate the conversation. And honestly, y'all's input matters a lot. Pokemon Sword and Shield are going to be interesting. We'll have them in our hands in a couple months. And I'm sure you'll see great content from both of us. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Dreamcast. Keep it real and keep dreaming.
So long.